presidente Obama extendió por un año más el embargo comercial contra Cuba, según informes de la Casa Blanca, renovando así la ley que prohíbe a las empresas estadounidenses hacer negocios con la isla.
Yes, America has renewed its trade embargo with Cuba. That's a big deal, and yet that was the only clip we could find reporting it, because apparently Spanish-speaking people are the only ones who give whatever the Spanish for two shits is. I'm guessing it's dos equis. Now first, and I'll admit this, I had no idea the Cuban embargo had to be renewed once a year. I just assumed it was like an Amazon Prime trial. You sign up once and it simply rolls on without you even noticing. But apparently one of the components of the embargo is the Trading with the Enemy Act, which requires that the president must annually sign a piece of paper saying that its continuation for 1 year is in the national interest, which is a strangely routine way to go about renewing legislation which in Cuba is deeply controversial.
The embargo is a constant talking point on the island, and most Cubans blame it for the shortages of everything, from concrete to build roads and houses to food shortages.
Cubans blame the embargo for everything: the economy, the weather, the complete collapse of Homeland in its second season, which to be fair, Cubans probably haven't seen, but if they do, they'll hate it and they'll blame the embargo for it. The embargo seems like something from a different era, and that is probably because it is.
The U.S. embargo was put into place by President Kennedy in 1962.
Exactly. The Cuban embargo dates back to the Kennedy era, and at the time it probably made some sense. We'd just been through the Cuban Missile Crisis, which was the closest we'd ever been to Armageddon until the explosive reaction to the 50 Shades of Grey casting announcement. I'm sorry, but Jamie Dornan has all the charisma of a sandwich bag filled with iceberg lettuce. He is not my Christian, hashtag not my Christian. But look, it's been a while. It's been a while since Cuba was a genuine threat, and by continuing the embargo, we're not just pissing them off, we're pissing off almost the entire world.
The UN General Assembly is pressing, for the 22nd time, by the way, for the U.S. to end its embargo against the country. 188 countries voted for lifting the embargo. Israel was the only country that joined the U.S. in voting against it.
Oh yes, the US and Israel together alone again. Although, to be fair, in 2012, the group supporting the embargo did have another powerful member, specifically the island nation of Palau. What a coalition! America, Israel and Palau. The peanut butter and jelly and traditional Palauan fruit bat soup of foreign policy. But last year, even Palau decided it couldn't support the embargo anymore. And you know what they say, when you've lost Palau, you can forget about the Maldives. Sure, you've got to remember the Maldives first, but then you have to forget about them. But look, don't listen to the rest of the world. Who gives a shit what they think? The truth is, even our own standards for this embargo seem a little bit shaky. Remember the Trading with the Enemy Act from earlier? Well, Cuba is currently the only country on it. There used to be another one until this happened.
I'm issuing a proclamation that lifts the provisions of the Trading with the Enemy Act with respect to North Korea.
Not even North Korea is on that list anymore. And look, a list of enemies without them is like a list of cycloptic clawed penises without the 2012 Olympic mascots. It's meaningless. Your list is incomplete. Which is not to say that the Cuban government is a good regime. Look, in Freedom House's most recent report, Cuba got a repression score of 6.5 out of 7, which does sound embargo-worthy, were it not for the fact that many of our biggest trading partners have similar scores. China also got a 6.5, and Saudi Arabia got a full 7. And do you know how hard it is to get a perfect score? They'll dock you a full point just for hooking up jumper cables to the wrong testicle. But we're happy to overlook those scores. We do it all the time. Because if we only traded with countries with perfect human rights records, our only imports would be maple syrup and Smurfs.